minds it would be Triple H, but when you're in that position, you're given that level of trust anyway that they're going to trust him not to go out there and say anything that would go against their company values. And to me, when you think about these, like, who's talking good backstage, I mean, Jericho still does a tremendous job of it, but he's of that old school kind of class as well, isn't he? But, not to self-promote ourselves or anything, but when we was going down to Progress as press, and we was looking at these backstage kind of interviews, and that the way that they were carrying themselves in their interviews and as their characters, that was real. You've got that connection from these wrestlers, and maybe something might have been said that couldn't have been aired, but then that's what the editing is for afterwards. You can edit those bits out, and then you can still use the best of their character. Yeah, no,
I totally agree. It's a good point. Just something that seems the art of that has gone. I'd say there's probably one other guy on that roster that does pretty much say what he wants. It's probably Brock. That's about it. I mean, he just swears when he wants, says what he wants, laughs when he wants. I'm sure he's laughing at the product half the time, especially when he got put up there against Braun and he missed his lines. It was unbelievable. But other than him, Triple H, I think it's like, wow, we've just got the whole roster on scripts, which is just nuts, isn't it? John Moxley, Matt, he's gone to New Japan very recently. He's picked up a title, so he's doing well. He's also said he's going to be in the G1 as well, which is going to be quite a big deal. Matt, some news coming over here now, which I thought was very fascinating, is the fact that the NXT UK takeover show, Matt, that they're putting on in Wales, done specifically, we find out later, because of the sort of influence of the New Japan coming over. What a complete cock up that sounded by the end of it, because now they're there on a weekend that the rugby's there, and of course all the hotels and everything else that travel in is going to be whopped up more expensive. Couldn't have got a worse scouting job than that. But these things will happen, Matt, when you try and do things for the sake of trying to trip somebody else up from time to time. I mean, are you surprised, Matt, that WWE in some ways still go to these lengths to try and hurt like other promotions? But you kind of think to yourself, WWE is so big now, why bother? I know they had. I mean, it was very suspect to me when NXT UK come around very quickly out of sort of nowhere, because of the whole World of Sport had just been picked up by ITV, and all of a sudden then we have a tournament take place, and I thought that's very odd just for that to come out of nowhere. Do you feel like they do this a lot, Matt? I mean, we sort of Ring of Honor, they try to get them out of MSG. There's still something there, isn't there, with them? They still want the market. They still want to sort of cause, if they can get the fans, in these places, they would rather go to their shows than anybody else. Are you surprised, Matt, that they still try these antics, or is this just the typical WWE play from your point of view?
Well, it is a bit surprising, especially when, for years, the UK scene was sort of left out in the cold. WWE wasn't really giving us anything for quite a long time. And now, all of a sudden, the interest has been sort of caught by them. We caught their eye somehow. The talent was here. The scene's been heating up, and we got some good talented English wrestlers. But then the thing is, now we've got options, haven't we? Because other companies coming over here. New Japan's coming over this year, and we get Ring of Honor that comes over. So a lot of people are seeing the potential to tap into the UK market, and WWE want to sort of just keep it all to themselves now, and almost to their own expense, because when you have some choice, it's a good thing. Because if you keep giving WWE and you keep getting those events, eventually you just get bored of them. And then when you put two events up against each other, like New Japan, and then you've got the NXT UK on the same kind of weekend, people will opt to go to see the New Japan one because it's something different. I mean, they've seen WWE, they've been there, they've experienced that. I
believe it's the same night as well that they're doing another show as well. AEW are going to be on as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
it was quite underhanded tactics, I suppose. If you can go on a different night, why wouldn't you? Even if you go the week ahead of it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, very interesting that they're doing these things, and yeah, it sounded like it might have backfired on this occasion, perhaps, with the tickets at least, and people travelling in. I think it's all right if you live there, but if you're somebody that's going to want to go to this, could be quite a difficult one. So yeah, that's where that one's at. Okay, now other stuff just to finish up on here, Matt. That I wanted to put across as well. Of course, AEW haven't really come out with too much for the next pay-per-view, but still momentum is still happening, and we got some of the, I don't know if you saw any of the buy rates that came in, Matt, recently, the sort of early buy rates for Double or Nothing, Matt. I don't know if you read any of that yet.
No, I didn't see that.
It's,
no, well, fill me in there.
Yeah, early signs is very, very positive. Basically, it's hard to gauge the international box office and pay-per-views at the moment, but let's put it this way: on home soil, they done extremely well. They got not as much as All In, but not far off it. And considering where it's placed, and also the what makes it better, they made more money out of this one because it was a higher price. So actually, the money they made was a lot more than All In, but the actual sales was a bit less. At least on the American soil anyway. But globally, internationally, this is where it's going to pick up. And I think the UK numbers, especially, Matt, were through the roof. So ITV and also the other thing that you can stream it through, they done extremely big numbers. And I think that's where AEW is going to do well. The fact that they've got that ITV deal sorted. So considering they haven't had sort of TV, they haven't had a TV run up to a pay-per-view. They've literally done everything through social media up until this point. It's all good signs at the moment. I'll be very interested to see what the next one does after this now that the momentum's in play, now that we also have sort of bigger matches probably announced with some sort of built-in storylines now from themselves. I'll be very fascinated to see that. But what's interesting from a standpoint of pay-per-views is the fact that, of course, WWE really threw themselves out of the pay-per-view game a while ago now and went for the streaming service of their own network. But what's interesting, Matt, is I know that it is one pay-per-view, but they made a hell of a lot more money than what WWE are currently going to make on just giving everyone free pay-per-views every month. In terms of that sort of that revenue, I mean, some of these, I think the pay-per-views in America was being sold at nearly close to $80, Matt, $80 to $100 to buy that pay-per-view, and that's no small change. So they're doing really well in terms of maximising that. And the thing is, like I say, with WWE throwing themselves out of this, the kind of, it is an open market on the pay-per-view game for wrestling, so it's not like Impact Wrestling are doing that much now with that stuff. So they've got a good chance here, Matt, to make decent money back from it. I mean, we know that they're pretty sound anyway. They don't really need to rely on money heavily at the moment. But in terms of a business model, and we always said, Matt, the one stupid thing about Impact Wrestling, they never turned a profit ever. They just lost money every year. And Dixie Carter just kept digging into that bank of her family all the time. But with this, there actually seems like there is a very good business model being set up, and that's always a good sign early on. And again, with the TV deal and everything else coming up later in the year, that's only going to do better. Matt, just a prediction from yourself here. What do you think? I mean, in the future, pay-per-views, because we've become sort of educated now. We don't really buy the pay-per-views, do we? Everything's streamed now, and you sign up to some sort of subscription. But for you, Matt, is there still a market where pay-per-views and wrestling is concerned?
It's going to take some reintroducing if they really want to get back into that. If you want to start getting people to buy pay-per-views, it is kind of like taking a step back, and it does feel now the more like the more streamlined way is to do it online, actually, because it's more accessible. I suppose going through a third party, even if you need to do that, you know, if you need to put your product out there through like Hulu or Netflix or something, then maybe even go down that route, you know. But I can't really see people getting their wallet out, grabbing the credit card, you know, giving those details over, going, I want to buy this paper. It does seem almost outdated these days.
Yeah, that's why I was quite shocked at how well the numbers did. But then I'm thinking, is everyone just crying out for something new, that they're willing to pay this extravagant amount just to get the interest? We do know there were a lot of people that had fallen out of favour with wrestling that got back into it and enjoyed it. So I think the thing with me, I think if they were to do what Cody said, 6 a year, they've probably got a real chance of doing really well at selling pay-per-views, because you're going to get a great build to every pay-per-view, like a better one than WWE can do. Like WWE are trying to do 15, 16, even 17 pay-per-views a year on a calendar. And if you were selling them as pay-per-views, Matt, like actual pay for them on box office, I can't imagine what some of those numbers would be for some of these things, Matt. Dreadful, I should imagine. But the fact that they're free with the subscription, it's kind of like, well, you watch it, don't you? You know, I kind of feel like they even feel they're not obligated to give you everything now that they once would, because, you know, it's part of the deal, so we don't have to, so we can concentrate on, like, they're more story driven stuff now, some of these pay-per-views, than they are sort of the climax to things. But I think if you do it like New Japan, and you just have, you know, 6 quality pay-per-views with epic matches on them, people sometimes, I mean, the thing is, Matt, it's a bit like, I don't know, like Jericho up against Hangman Page, and I don't know, like Kenny Omega up against John Moxley. Like, people back in the day, Matt, they just used to pay for like the main event. That was enough for them. With WWE, it's become such a sort of brand that you have to sort of think, do I want to buy a night of TLC, or do I want to buy a night of Elimination Chamber? It's a different ball game, isn't it, Matt? You don't buy it for the main event anymore. You don't buy it for the guys in it. You buy it for you know what it is become.
Especially when it comes to WrestleMania, they're trying to sell you like 5-6 hours worth of stuff.
Yeah, and the same with the Royal Rumble. But of course, they're household names. But there's a big difference in, you know, having 2 guys at the top that you go, yeah, I want to see those guys wrestle. A bit like New Japan when they throw some epic matches together, and you're like, yes, I've got to see this. So I do feel that they've got an opportunity, but I'll be fascinated to see how that works in the future. And again, I'm sure WWE will be looking over their shoulders thinking, crap, we might have got out of this a bit too soon, because they don't even sell WrestleMania on pay-per-view anymore. I mean, they do, but you get it with the network, is what I'm saying. So why would you? You get a free subscription. So I don't know how much money they make from this stuff, giving everything free all the time, and 1 month free subscription here, there, and everything else. I think what they do well on is advertising through it, and also third-party stuff. But I think in terms of revenue, I wonder really how good is the payoff for a WrestleMania these days compared to what it was when it was on the pay-per-views. Just in terms of, you know, how much they make from, you know, their audience. But there you go. We'll never get a true statistic, because the one they always tell us is always the one where they go for that third quarterly rate, and it's always the one that's giving you the free sign up. I just wonder how many people stay on after WrestleMania and go through what we're going through now. But in any case, so finishing up on this one, Matt, you got anything else to add to our podcast here as we come to the end?
Oh no, I think we've covered most of the Super Showdown.
I do want to
high spots and low spots.
I do want to give a throw out here to the NXT takeover that was on a couple of weeks ago. Really, really enjoyed that. Thought that was an excellent night again from NXT. Very, very consistent as always. I gotta say, I just been a little bit switched off to the main event. Maybe just a bit too many false finishes for me. Like, I'm starting to get a little bit like, I don't know if I keep wanting to see as many as they're doing, but nonetheless, a terrific overall show. What did you make of that show, Matt?
Oh yeah, it's consistently solid, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we were saying on the previous podcast.